Welcome to a video about SolarGDS that will give you a good overview of what the software does and how it works. And hopefully you've watched the intro video to get kind of a general idea about the software. But this is kind of the second in the series. So assuming you've already got an account and you've logged in, you're going to see jobs. And as I mentioned in the first video, all the information in the alpha version of this software will be visible to all users. So keep that in mind when you're entering information. It's just the way it is until we kind of fine-tune things, get some feedback from you to see what we need to add, what we need to change, things like that. And then we'll move into a beta that has more secure kind of individualized information. So for now, we've got jobs and systems and parts. I kind of went over that in the first video, but let's get into a job here. Let's say this one. So this job was already created, and it had a system that was called some system, but since that system was made, I've kind of edited it and renamed it and things like that. So one thing to be aware of is the difference between, and I'm going to jump around a little, the difference between a job level of information and like a global default level of information. So anything you see in the system and the parts, systems and parts kind of menus here is kind of global level stuff. So the only global level system is this one here, sample system. But jumping back to that job, so you're able to, when you edit a system for a specific job, it's only making changes to that job's system. So the global system won't change unless you hit this save copy to catalog. Now that would save it to the global catalog, which is what we saw a second ago. So that's one way to do it. You can make some changes to a jobs system by adding parts to it, by changing descriptions, things like that, and then save that to the catalog. Or you can actually go back here and say import, and this would go back to that catalog global list, and I can pick the one that I've modified before. Now, when I pick that sample system, you'll see what that does for us. I can actually edit it. And right now it only has standoff hardware added. So if I wanted to start adding more hardware, I could add from catalog or add new. So if I add from catalog, I hit add, and then I can pick the different, like if I need some clamps, I pick that. I can say add hardware from catalog again. Pick an end clamp. So it's real simple just to start adding parts. Now labels is some other description for that part that you want. So you could give it like an abbreviation or something, STD. Now I can also edit that part. And here's something that you need to know is a part has a certain preference. So I've told this that the standoff part, I want it to have 4 per rail. But I can actually say, since we have another setting here, I can say 1 per rail. There's another setting that applies to this, and that's back in, I'm going to jump around again, right here. So where it says total for all rails in this row. So, and that's specific to mounts. So if I want, if this one row is only one panel, let's change this to like 4 panels. So it's real simple. It just draws it instantaneously. They can either be, the panel itself can be vertically arranged, or the whole row can be vertical. So in this case, we just want the row to be horizontal, but the panels to be vertical, let's say. So now if there's two rails per row, and I want 4 mounts per rail, then let's see, I'm sorry, 2 mounts per rail per panel, then I would say I want 8 mounts for this, for each rail row, let's call it, if that makes sense. So I've changed all that, and now I want to go back to the I want to go back to the parts. So let's go back to edit the system, and I'm going to look at the parts for this system. And then I'm going to say I want to add, so I can either add from the catalog, which is what we had on the left menu there, or I can just say add new, and that just kind of gives me a blank, slate. So I can say ABC vendor. So whatever you want to enter here is fine. And I can say hardware, and let's say this is a amount, and it's one per package, and each one's like $4. So that's how I would, and I could save that to the main catalog, or I can just click OK. When I click OK, I've actually just added it to this job. So that's how it works. So now here's what I was going to show you. For the system, you can specify things like the actual solar panel is already specified for a system, the spacing between panels in a row, and the rail part. So we can also add the rail part. So when I hit import, it's going to let me pick. So I already had a rail extrusion in my master catalog, so I'm going to pick that one. So that's set. So those are kind of two preset things for any system. You should have a solar panel set and a rail set. All the other hardware is kind of, or electrical stuff is set down below here, because those can be a number of different things. But you figure for a given system, you're going to want a specific panel and a specific rail. So rail extension, rails per panel, this is where it tells it there's 2 per panel. And obviously if there's a row, it's going to figure out the width automatically, so, or length, whatever case may be. And the saw blade thickness, so this is for the optimization. When it figures out how to cut the stock lengths of those rail extrusions, it's going to figure in your saw blade allowance, so that gives you the accurate cuts and optimization. So the rail extension, that's how much it's going to extend past the measurement of the panels. So the measurement of the panels are in the panel configuration, or the panel part information, let's call it, the length and width. So it knows that. And back over here, we know our spacing between the panels. So that's how it's going to figure out your rail lengths. And then you've got your add to rail lengths to figure out how much more you want to stick out at the ends. So very simple. You just add those different things. And like I say, the different parts, we can edit what the frequency or what the quantities of the parts based on a bunch of different things. By job, by row, by panel joint, by rail splice. So obviously if you've got a long array that's longer than a stock length of a rail, it's going to have to splice it, and you can add in, so it knows where the splices are, and then if you tell it there's certain parts that are spliced parts, it would figure those automatically for you. So all these different settings for the quantities, and you can set that for any part in the master catalog and also change it at the job level. So there's a lot of flexibility in terms of adding parts to the catalog, adding parts to your job, having different settings for the parts in your job than the parts in the catalog. So we've tried to make it as flexible as possible. And also, like here, it says if you made modifications in a job to a certain system, added a bunch of parts that you just thought of, or some new parts or whatever, you can save that back to the main catalog, so now you can pick it for the next job. So all these things should make the software very flexible and easy to use for you. So let's just say, just for this one little 1 row 4 panel thing, I can print a part report, and it's going to show me all the different quantities, pricing, and there's a total price over here. So all that's right there just by hitting print report. And the cut report is that optimization for how it needs to optimize the rows of how we define two rails per row, and then based on the width of those panels, this is how much material you're going to need. And it requires 3 stock lengths, and this is how they're going to be cut. So that's how the optimization cut list works. And then you've got your little drawing that saves, you can download as a JPEG, and include that with a bid if you want. So that's what it's like in the alpha version, and we hope that you spend a little time to play with it and go up to the help menu and hit feedback or contact us and let us know what more you'd like to see, what you want to see different, and if you have any questions, let us know what those are. And thanks for watching, and hope you have fun.